What's up, people? I'm Shaggy the Opinionated Hippie, and today we're going to talk about Neil Young and Crazy Horse's live album, Weld. Before we get into this absolute electric feedback, noise, strangle your guitar, majestic experience, I would like to address the fact that I'm wearing sunglasses inside. I have blepharitis. It's easier to wear sunglasses because I'm still sort of, the light still affects me. So that's why I'm wearing sunglasses inside. I'm wearing the hat inside because I like hats. That bothered one person. Just want to address the fact that I like it. Sorry if it bothers you. But anyways, Weld. If you thought Ragged Glory was Neil Young laying out his bona fides, his bona fides, his credentials for being the godfather of grunge, if you thought that was his case, well, this is the case that puts that case to shame. It is a live album. We got some greatest hits. We have a whole bunch of new stuff off Ragged Glory. We got maybe a couple quote-unquote deep cuts from other albums. But we have feedback. We have noise. We have chaos. We have guitar solos that just sound like Neil is strangling all six strings and making them cry for help. We have everything is just magnificently indulgent, electric, no acoustic set, none of that stuff. We're not going to waste our time bringing the level down at any point in time. Not only do we have that, but I want to say shortly before the tour started, the Gulf War started back in 1991. And Neil, of course, has something to say about that. So he threw in some tracks, a cover of Bob Dylan's Blowin' in the Wind, one of the greatest sort of anti-war tracks of all time, just so he could, address the situation, added sound effects of bombs and missiles and destruction and just war, chaos. He threw in a couple of his sort of like his songs that commentated on man and his tendency for destruction. We got a Cortez the Killer. We got a Powderfinger. Just these sort of like storytelling songs that also reflect on man's sort of violent nature. It's a powerful, powerful album. And I really think from the very start, he's just like, opening track, Hey, Hey, My. He's just like, hey, it's going to be grungy. It's going to be loud. It's going to be electric. I'm going to strangle my guitar. If you don't like this opening song, go somewhere else, because I'm really not going to take my foot off the pedal until like the end of the show. And at times I might put my foot on 3 or 4 different pedals and try to make as much noise as I can. This is just a glorious experience. It's absolutely wonderful. Like I said, it opens up with Hey, Hey, My, and just the guitars are crunchier. The sound is just heavier. I mean, if you thought Rust Never Sleeps was heavy, then it wasn't. Like, this is doubling down on that entire experience. It's just absolutely amazing. And his voice, whether, not on all the tracks, because I think the songs are pretty much in the order that they were performed at the shows. But I don't think the performances, because I don't know what the dates are on the performances, but this opening, Hey, Hey, My, either because he's on tour already or that's just the energy he's bringing, it has this sort of war-torn, ragged, desperate sound to it that just works perfectly. Opens up with Hey, Hey, My. And then we go into a Crime in the City off Freedom, which I don't think it's better than the original version. I think the sort of sonic palette that's laid out with the different version, with all the weird sort of like psychedelic prog interludes, slightly prog interludes, is an almost perfect studio creation, but it works with the full electric Crazy Horse experience. Might not be better, but I think it works. The vocals are great. His vocal delivery on all of these is just absolutely fantastic. The verse after, like, when it feels good to be free, he yells, freedom, which is just a nice, like, cry of desperation right there. Between the verses, they're riffing the guitars pretty heavy, and it almost leans into, like, an Iron Maiden gallop at times that's just like, just absolutely perfect. Maybe not better than the studio version, fully works as a full-on Crazy Horse live experience. We get Blowin' in the Wind next. And while I'm not the biggest fan of this version, Actually, I am a big fan of this version. I'm not a fan of the placement as the third song because it's just Neil, vocals, and a guitar. The band is not doing it. It's kind of reminiscent of what he did with Mother Earth at the end of Ragged Glory, what he would do with Les Noise. But the beginning has sirens, and there's like a storm sound, and there's missile sounds, and there's bombs. And so you understand why he's playing this. And the fact that it is just vocals, I think a couple members of the band sing, because it's just him and the guitar, there is a sort of stark desperation to it, a stark sort of cry for like, hey man, can we not go to war? Can we just listen? The answer's blowing in the wind, my friend. Let's not do this horrible thing. So I wish it was later in the set. I think the intensity of I think we have the really intense Hey Hey My My. We kind of bring it down a little for Crime in the City, but I think we bring it down a little too much for Blowing in the Wind. I think this personally would have been more effective later in the show, but I think it's still a pretty interesting performance. Then we get Welfare Mothers, which perfect coupling with something is like Blowing in the Wind. It's almost like we get the irreverence of Welfare Mothers, though there's a middle breakdown section in this where they kind of let things fall apart and get chaotic. And Neil starts yelling about like, where are the kids and where's the check? And I think he and Frank are yelling stuff at each other, or whoever's yelling. And it just kind of gets chaotic in the middle. And then we end with like some nice feedback and some nice. Welfare Mothers gets the sort of chaotic energy that it deserves. Good Welfare Mothers. I did not see Welfare Mothers. When I saw them at the Cow Palace, it was towards the end of the show, I want to say, but towards the end of the tour. But we did not get a Welfare Mothers at that stop, and we did not get it Tonight's Tonight, which is going to appear later, which is also really good. Love to Burn. I think all of the Ragged Glory tracks tend to sound pretty similar to the studio tracks. The guitars might be a little bit crunchier and a little bit just more strangling going on with the solos, but I think the energy on Ragged Glory is so live and so perfect to begin with that it really was kind of hard to capitalize on those tracks. But I do think there's just a little more of that live intensity is in these tracks. But I don't think it's as stark as it is with the other stuff. Cinnamon Girl is great. Just absolutely awesome. We get some nice, like, about a minute plus of outro guitar plus noise at the end, which is nice. Mansion on the Hill, pretty straightforward. We get about 30 seconds of noise at the end. We got a lot of noise. None of these songs end cleanly. We need at least one little chaotic drum break and stuff before they end. Fucking Up. We get about a minute and a half of noise at the end. It's pretty much a straight fucking up. Cortez the Killer. Even though it's intense, and even though it's got that Cortez energy, it still kind of somewhat seems like a little bit of calm in the midst of this storm. But it's not a calm like the eye of the hurricane where the sun comes out and you're like, oh, let's enjoy this. It's more like a calm where like, oh, the winds died down to like 20 miles per hour and I can walk outside without getting blown over. It's still pretty intense, and I still fully know I'm in the middle of the storm, but I can maybe go outside and enjoy it a little more. Nice about 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes and 45 seconds of like guitar exploration before we get the first vocals. Around 6.5 minutes, things start to fall apart. We go into, we tease the reggae action, but we don't commit to the reggae action. And then things get kind of really, really low. And then we build it back up with some more intensity at the end, almost like I know the reggae thing wasn't popular, but I'm going to tease you, then I'm going to end with it. But then we're going to go back into this like really nice, strong, wailing ending. So a really good Cortez the Killer. We get a Powderfinger, which is just always perfect. The stories, the lyric, the vocals of Powderfinger, absolutely amazing. Love and Only Love, great, fantastic. The bass playing really stands out on Love and Only Love. The band, Crazy Horse, is always crazy, is always just a fantastic band. But I do think the bass playing in Love and Only Love kind of like steps up a little more, or maybe it's just a little more prominent because of the way it's originally written. Really nice. Rockin' in the Free World. It's like 9.5 minutes long. Neil is just killing his guitar. It's just like, I'm pretty sure this was like the end of the main set, and then they came back for the encores when I saw them. So it really was a moment where he's like, hey, I know we're going to have a break. I know we're going to have to retune these strings anyways. I'm just going to mangle this thing to death as much as possible before I take my little break. Absolutely amazing. We get about 2 minutes of noise at the end. We get like a fake ending, and then we get more chaos. Just, yeah. If you don't like noise, if you're not a fan of Sonic Youth because you hate it when they sort of descend into just sonic chaos, yeah, there's a lot of stuff on here that might annoy you. But if you really love that stuff, I think the beauty of this album is all of that noisy chaos. It's already in the song. It's already part of what Neil's bringing. It's just he's managed to like harness it for lyrics and harness it for like a melody. And at the end, he's just like, nah, man, we're taking that harness off and just letting it go crazy. Absolutely amazing. Then we get Like a Hurricane, which just sounds like a hurricane. It just sounds huge. When that kind of a like not too much, 20 seconds or so of him messing around before we get the nair, 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 and then we just drop in and just like, yeah. I mean, it's just like when the Dead drop Dark Star. You're just like, yeah. When Frank Zappa tears in a Muffin Man, you're just like, yeah. I mean, it's just huge sounding. And it's just amazing. We get about 6.5 minutes of Hurricane before we get some chaos, some noise. We get a little quiet reprise of the vocals where things get calmed down and he's kind of singing the vocals. And then he comes back into the chorus like full big sound, another guitar solo, 3 minutes of noise at the end. I think the whole thing's like 14.5, 15 minutes. But it's just like 6.5 minutes, and then the last like maybe 7 is just like playful and chaotic and noisy and experimental, and like the damage the hurricane has wrought. We get to experience it musically for like the latter half of the song. Then we get a Farmer John, fun song. We get some whoa, whoa, whoas. Neil and the audience kind of singing along together, a little audience participation. Then an absolutely wonderful that could have been twice as long, and I would have been happy. Tonight's the Night. It starts off with a couple minutes of it. Just seems like it's just the cymbals, it's just that bass line, and Neil just kind of strangling his guitar and making some weird noises. And then we get a really dynamic Tonight's the Night. We get intense, we get quiet, we get crazy, everybody's singing, then we drop off. It just feels way too short. I think this is like an 8.5, 9 minute Tonight's the Night. This could have gone on for another 15. This could have gone on for another 8 minutes. They could have jammed out the beginning longer. The chaotic part in the middle could have been longer. Yeah, it's like 8.5 minutes. This could have been longer, and it would have been absolutely brilliant. I would have not have complained once. And then twice before Tonight's the Night, he says, we have time for one more song. And then, or maybe it's before Farmer John. And then he says, we got time for one more song. We're going to throw this one out there, and they do roll another number. And his vocals on this almost have like a snarky type attitude. It's like, it's just, there's attitude in here, but it's just an absolutely, absolutely amazing, amazing performance. Yeah. If you've not heard this album and you like Ragged Glory, or you like the energy of the second half of Rust Never Sleeps, or you like parts of Freedom when he gets electric, or you just like electric guitar and noise and you're a Sonic Youth fan and you like when bands do that thing, like this is just like a must hear. It's just an absolutely, absolutely amazing release. If you bought this release, back in the day, like the first, I don't know, couple months, I don't know how long it was released. It was a 3 CD set, and the third CD, this is a 2 CD set, was Arc. And Arc is 35 minutes of chaos noise. He took all the endings. He took like the middle section of Like a Hurricane when things get crazy, and he's like, the band's making noise, and he's just kind of like shouting out the lyrics to Like a Hurricane amidst the storm, you know, which kind of works really perfectly. And he edited that into like a 35-minute sound collage. And then now that I think they release it as a separate release, but it's a pretty fascinating listen if you like noise. I was going to do like a separate release for that review, and I still might, but I did want to give that a shout out in this video because it originally came with it, and so I do own it. I probably would have bought it anyways, but it's it's a neat thing to just kind of have on and sit through maybe once a year and just go through it, because those moments when Neil does come through and start singing, and then you hear the Like a Hurricane lyrics, it is almost like the eye of the hurricane on the eye. Only the eye is not that bright, but you can still see the sun maybe trying to fight through some really high clouds with Neil's voice, like God calling down from above. But yeah, I really like this album. It's really good. It's an absolutely fantastic live release. Weld, Neil Young and Crazy Horse. Came out in 91. It's a document of the 91 tour. Yeah, check it out, people. Yeah, peace. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do those things, and peace. Talk to you later.